Thank you all. Thank Dialogue for the invite again. And again, what an amazing marathon of presentations by architects and great discussions as well. I'm not going to show really any work of HKS at this presentation. We'll more talk about that topic. So just a little bit of intro about who HKS is and where the knowledge is coming from. We probably top 3 architectural firm in the world with offices almost covering the globe, which really bring us a lot of knowledge and share that knowledge between us, almost 1,700 architects and designers in these 29 offices. Firm started almost 87 years ago and survived by client repeat work and being an expert in certain categories. So we do all kind of projects, like many of the large-scale firms, but we're very well known for our healthcare, hospitality, and sports. These are really the prime area. I focus more on community development beyond just a specific building. After almost 40 years in the business, I really focus more about client experience and the relationship between buildings and the environment and the built environment. That's really my focus and my interest. Feel like we're, when you come to design, you really focus on one particular, but when you start looking into the overall view of a city or a community, you're really looking at something that impact life. And we do practice responsible design, which really try to incorporate the environment we're working in, the client we're working for, and the success of the project by the users as well. It's very simple. We get everybody involved in the discussion, everybody involved in the charrette of design we do when we start the project, and we do a lot of thinking before really start working. And our scale of success is the success of the project, success of the development by the client. And again, we highlight, that our work is really impacting the area we're working in and reflect on the environment as well. That's very important for us. Strategy is very important. We spend a lot of time thinking and asking questions, try to understand the business of our client, understand the users and what the results are coming out of it. And similar to what Alexander was showing in the data, both these firms have, SOM and other large-scale firms, we're trying to utilize that lesson learned into our research. So our research team are really very important for what we do in our work. And they do a lot of topics in research about patient experience, guest experience in hotel, fan experience in stadiums, and what does it make a difference in the design of buildings. So all of that feed back into the design and become a tool for our designers. We feel like the ideal situation, if you really design for Earth, but also be sure that you're delivering that for a successful project. It's not about your beautiful design and beautiful project, but as a benefit for everyone, the users, the owners, the developer, and the environment at the end of the day. I would like to focus a little bit about this topic. I've been invited to speak on high-rise building congress, and start hitting me that, I've been living in Dubai now for almost 13 years, all of it in high-rise. And before that, I was in 25 years in the US in typical community in suburbia, which is beautiful. I enjoy the nature, I enjoy the trails, the hikes, the walking with kids, all of that was beautiful. But living in a high-rise, I find out that we really are almost excluded in our cocoon up there. You come by your elevator, you park your car down there. Yeah, you use the spa, you use the gym, you use the swimming pool, but there's no community. You don't know the neighbor right next to you. So I start thinking about that and start looking into, and again, probably my topic should be right after Marwan, where he start talking about high-rise building and really the need for high-rise building, whether you like it or not. And I'm strongly support of also the high-rise building, because at the end of the day, high-rise buildings, and again, there's several examples of high-rise building from what I was showing earlier in the first skyscrapers in Yemen, all the way through what's been happening in Chicago and New York and other cities, which reflect the Industrial Revolution and the technology growing and things like that, to bad examples happen in mass housing in certain parts of the world, to really what's happening here in this region, where traditionally it used to be a horizontal living with communities and very well suited for this environment, and now we're going up with these vertical towers, which is actually represent the need because the value of the land, there's so many reasons for it, but I look at it in terms of sustainability. So the less space we use on Earth, the better it is. If we can really bring all these uses into something that represent what we used to have before. So what I'm trying to really pitch for is that if we can bring that quality of life we used to have in these older communities in this region into the high-rise community, that really would be our success as architects and planners if we can do that. Imagine the amount of people who live in Burj Khalifa is almost equivalent to the amount of people who live in the Nakla, which is the Jumeirah palm, which I don't know if any of you know about it, but if you look at the areas each one of them occupy, you can understand and sort of agree with me that it's actually the less is more. So going vertical in Burj Khalifa, you accommodate the same amount of people in a smaller own space, which is save more on energy, allow you to really utilize more resources on Earth, which is getting less and less right now. So when we start looking into how can we really create communities in these vertical areas and try to look into a concept where we really start, and again, the responsibility is not all on the architect's shoulder, but it really has to be a combined effort between developers, governments have to create some rules about engaging in these high-level living, so really allow the connectivity to happen between them. Because what I was saying earlier, you come to your parking garage, you go up to your unit, you go down to the gym, you go down to the swimming pool, or whatever amenities you have in your apartment, but you're still really isolated versus the community you used to live in before. And if we look at what really make a community a successful or a failure, look at the Mercer criteria. What do they, rate cities around the world? And if you look around it, it's like successful cities are the ones that provide all these services. So it's community services, it's education, it's health, all kind of components really need to create that community we aspire and we're looking for. So I'll go a little bit faster here on this one. So pretty much start to defining this community value by what does really people need when they are up there in these communities, and how can we create that sense of community by, first of all, connecting the people who live in that building, creating that platform that allow them to get to know their neighbors and get to really engage in activities within these buildings and celebrate these achievements, whether there is a gardening on roof or terraces or more parks along these towers, instead of having to go all the way down to the ground floor to be able to really connect to activities on the street. And again, many of the research and the design has been happening before were supported by technologies and smart cities. And right now we have these tools to allow people to communicate and allow people to express their opinion and be able to really be a participant. So, which a lot of it is the HOA. So the responsibilities for the HOA, which exist in the Dubai and many of the international Western world, is to really create that sense of community and allow people to be a participant in activities and life they want to have in these vertical communities. So on and on, there's a lot of areas. I was really and again, I'm doing it almost like a research right now, where I'm continue on coming up with ideas and looking at examples from around the world, that what is a successful community is, and how can we transfer that to these living towers and really make this as a truly living community. And as you know, transportation right now with drones and things like that are allowing us to connect. So imagine if at level 23 there is bridges connecting between towers, and we'll be able to commute from one neighborhood to another instead of going all the way down to the street. In one hand, we will reduce the use of land, reduce the use of energy, use the use of a lot of things, but at the same time provide this mixed-use development, vertical mixed-use development, that really bring more of what we missed here in this region in terms of the old communities. Again, you could skip through these a little bit quickly here. And always I say, start with thinking about what we're trying to achieve here first, and what is the goal and the target, which we've all been talking about, is providing quality architecture that it really preserve the environment and provide a better life quality for our users. And thank you again for listening.